All right, first let's start with just a quick introduction of me, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to let each one of our panelists introduce themselves too, and you will get to know us a little bit better just in the beginning. And then we're going to open things up to a Q&A. So it's a town hall style. There are microphones on either side of the room. After we get the introductions done, then you can go and you can line up and you can ask us anything. All right, my name is Lori Hins. I am a National Committee woman from this great state of North Dakota. My National Committee woman is right here. Stand up, Sandy Sanford. She won by 1 vote, and it was a beautiful day. Yes, I'm sorry, chairman. I'm sorry. She was our chairman who won in our state. It was one of those flips that we're going to be talking about today as well, one of those important flips. My background is I am a 42-year radio veteran, which is why I know how to use microphones. I don't have any choice. That's all I ever did. Then after that, about 3 years ago, I switched over, and I work for a television station now, which is a cooperative, independent telecom that decided to start doing alternative broadcasting on television. It is a dream come true and completely uncensored, y'all. It's just the best thing ever. So, Lori Hins, North Dakota. Now, with me, we're going to go this way and go across to Mike last. All right, go ahead, Sigal.
Hi, my name is Sigal Chadha, and I am the National Committee woman from Nevada. I am a practicing lawyer, do a lot of constitutional cases, sue the government a lot. Right now engaging in some litigation regarding election integrity in the state of Nevada, which is very important. We have to make sure that we have transparent elections. Anybody that knows anything about 2020 will remember Nevada was quite the problem child of the state. We are a battleground state, and with that, I'll pass it on.
I'm Josh McCoon. I'm the state chairman for Georgia. I'd like to introduce also Jason Thompson, our national committee man, who's here today, and his lovely wife, Julianne. I am a former state legislator. I've been involved in politics as long as I could drive a car. I ran for Secretary of State in Georgia in 2018 because I thought we needed a lawyer with a background in election law ahead of what I expected to be a contentious 2020 presidential election. That didn't quite work out, but you know, God's timing is everywhere. So I'm very happy to be here with you. Look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you. My name is Christina Caramo. I'm the chairwoman of the Michigan Republican Party. My background is actually in education. I'm one of the pissed off citizen brigade who after 2020, I had been involved in the party since college, you know, as a state committee person and what have you. But I was one of the people at the TCF Center in Detroit and just witnessed the crimes firsthand. I was the Republican nominee for Secretary of State of Michigan. And what caused me to run for state chair was the issues within my state party. They were not interested in solving systemic election corruption, which I believe is the greatest threat our nation faces, among other issues. And my frustration led me to deciding to run for state chair, and we're looking to clean up our state.
Okay, now I'm good. Okay. All right. Good morning, everybody. I am Julianne Murray. I am the state chair from Delaware. In the elevator this morning, somebody said, "Why didn't you bring Biden?" And I was like, look. It's bad enough that I'm out there saying, send Biden back to Delaware. You know, we live with a Joe Jam in Delaware, which is our traffic jam when he flies to Delaware every weekend. Joe Jam, it's really what it's called. Okay, so I am the definition of grassroots. I came out of nowhere. I ran for statewide in 20 and 22. I ran for Attorney General and lost by 12,225 votes in blue Delaware. While I was running, so I got a little over 46%. While I was running, I challenged the General Assembly passed statewide statutory vote by mail. I challenged it while I was running, and it was ruled unconstitutional a month before the Attorney General election. Has to be done by amendment, so there will be no vote by mail in Delaware in 2024. Oh, by the way, I'm a practicing attorney also, and if you hadn't figured that part out, I lost because Republicans were very unenergetic, and I decided I was going to bring my energy to Delaware. I'm one of the flips. It was a very contentious election in Delaware in April 29th of this year. Since becoming the chair, things have changed dramatically. We've got great grassroots involvement, and then in July, I represented the Heritage Foundation. I am the lawyer that pretty much blew up Hunter Biden's plea. One of the lawyers, but it was, it's been fun. I've done a lot of Newsmax appearances since then, and we are the resistance. So, yep.
Well, all of those are hard to follow. My name is Mike Brown. I am the Republican Party chairman of the great state of Kansas, and it is an honor to be with you and to be up here with all of these great people. I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to ask you to repeat it with me. Bold conservative Republican leadership wins. Bold conservative Republican leadership wins. I was told that was wrong. By the establishment in my state, I was told I was wrong. That was exclusionary. It was divisionary. It was every negative. It was probably racist. It was probably everything you can think of. But bold conservative Republican leadership wins. I ran for Secretary of State in the great state of Kansas in 2022. I'm a former county commissioner involved in statewide politics and especially in Northeast Kansas politics for about 25 years. But I had never run statewide. I'd been involved with other campaigns. I garnered about almost 46% of the vote in a Republican primary against a multi-term establishment Republican who is, again, serving as our Secretary of State. That catapulted me to the ridiculous, crazy idea of, well, maybe I should run for, I don't know, I guess I could be the chairman of the Republican Party, because I'll go fix that. So, yeah, everyone up here is smiling, laughing, yeah, okay. So you all had the same crazy, dumb thought I had. And I went out and I ran on bold conservative Republican leadership wins, and I won. And they didn't like it, and they didn't like it, and now let me tell you a little nugget of why. I won 90 to 88. They really didn't like that. It'd have been better if I had won by 50, but I didn't. I won by 2. So I do serve as the Republican Party chairman of the great state of Kansas, the Republican National Committee. I serve on the 168 along with all of these wonderful people and several others that are here. It is an honor to serve on the RNC and be a part of that 168. But this group is very much in the minority at this time. We are the minority. That is about to change as we elect national committee men and committee women across America. We are going to move from a large minority conservative group to the majority within the RNC, and that is big hope for the RNC and Republicans nationwide.
Yeah, we are definitely on the way to that. We are moving in that direction, and this group here will give you great hope for the future. Now, before we do anything else, I want to say I also, like Julianne, came from just the grassroots right straight to the RNC, and it's an unusual pathway. It just worked for me in my state, and I knew that I was against somebody who was going to be more of the country club establishment type of person. So I just knew that I had to outwork them is what I did. Now, before we go on, I want to show you how many RNC members we have in the room. So I'm going to start in the front row here with Ms. Virginia, Patty Lyman, National Committee woman from Virginia. Another really strong Republican from Louisiana, Roger Villery, National Committee man from Louisiana. From the great state of Montana, right next door to me, is Deborah Lamb, National Committee woman. Another National Committee woman from the great state of Nebraska, Fanshawn Blythe here. Then, as I said, Sandy Sanford is on the RNC also. She is our state chairman. And then also we've got Randy Corcoran, who's the National Committee man from Colorado. Dave Williams, who's the state chairman in Colorado. Jim DeGraffenreid, who's the National Committee committee man to Segal from Nevada, with Segal from Nevada. Now, any other RNC members I may have missed in the room? And Jason Thompson, I knew I was missing one. Jason Thompson from Georgia, National Committee man. And Nathan Dahm is over here. That's right, Oklahoma, Oklahoma. Thank you. So we have, as you can see, we have a really good representation. We also even have people in the room who are running for National Committee Man and Committee Woman. If you are running for a National Committee Man or Committee Woman position, stand up so that we can see who we're going to support. These are people who are taking on, thank you very much. Okay, so Colorado, Oregon, Washington, and Washington. So what we're doing is part of what is called the Mount Vernon Project. The Mount Vernon Project is an amazing group of people within Turning Point Action. It is a 501c4, and the deal is that the Mount Vernon Project, right from their site, says they are set up to recruit candidates for party office at the national and state level, provide research and staff support for those interested in running, introduce prospective candidates to party office to other conservative leaders and mentors, and contribute grants and financial backing to help grassroots candidates run. So those 4 people who are standing up there, they're getting help. They're getting help from the Mount Vernon Project and also hopefully all of you too who support that project. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to allow you to go up to the microphones right now, and we know what you're going to ask. The first question is going to be, how do we get rid of Rana? Where I'm already there. We already had a 9 a.m. one in this room that dealt a little bit with the RNC, and that was the question asked over and over and over again. And just so you know, those of us who are RNC members, we hear it every single day. All of us hear that over and over and over again. And believe me, we're doing our best. So please go ahead and ask any questions that you have. Don't be afraid. Don't be shy. Get us started. Somebody can go over to this microphone, and we'll go back and forth between the 2 mics, and you guys can ask us questions, and we'll answer them as a panel. Go ahead.
Okay, I forget your name?
Mike Brown, Kansas.
Brown, this is probably for you. Can you explain to us a little bit how the vendors and consultants to the RNC influence the makeup of the RNC voters that voted for Rana? Because I think people are confused on how these people don't listen to the grassroots. They vote by influence, right? By these vendors or consultants that are getting paid to do the elections. Is that what happens?
So there are, of course, vendors and consultants that are a huge part of the RNC operation. I will say I've been a part of the RNC, and I've been the chairman of the state of Kansas since February. And there are still large dark spots that I have in my vision of what the RNC is, and I sit on the board of directors. That's not an accident. That, to me, feels very intentional. However, there are parts and pieces of it I don't know, and I don't understand. To your question, I don't know where he went. Oh, there he is. Sorry, I looked away and you sat down. To answer your question as bluntly as I can with the information that I have, that class does play a role in what goes on with leadership at the RNC and plays a role in who is elected too. They go and they recruit. But that has been a one-way street as far as I can tell for a very long time. That is now a two-way street. That's running the other direction. Turning Point is playing a role in that, and so are other groups in our state.
I am going to defer to Roger Villery. And Roger, would you go up to the microphone and let them know about the consultant class? Roger Villery will also tell you how long he has been a member of the RNC. He is one of those people who is a mentor to me and others.
This is my 3rd time on the RNC. I'm a three-peat. I don't know that. And a few years off. I was chairman for 14 years.
Get it closer to the microphone. We got people in the back who can't hear you.
Okay, you can hear better? Okay, so I started out in the 90s as committee man, finished a term of a gentleman that was elected a judge, and then I came on, took a few years off, and then came back and served 14 years as state chairman of Louisiana, and then took a couple years off, and this last term came back on as national committee man again. So what I can tell you is that things take a long time. I know when I took over Louisiana as state chairman, we had a completely blue state. Our and today Louisiana's red, red, red. But we had over 2 million registered Democrats with just about 600,000 registered Republicans. Both our senators were Democrats. Every statewide elected official was Democrat. Both houses, the State House and Senate was Democrat majority. Our congressional district members were a majority Democrats. Our state Supreme Court was majority Democrats because even in Louisiana, our judges run and they're all registered, party registered. So when I left, after it took me 14 years, we had every single statewide office except governor. We had a supermajority in our state Senate, and we're only one less in the state House having a supermajority. We took over both our state senators. So what I'm saying is it takes a long time, and that's at the RNC. It takes us a long time. When I first got on the RNC, there was about 5 or 6 of us that were conservative. Today, there's over 50 of us. Unfortunately, that's not enough. It's not a majority. You have 168 members, and you have to have a majority. So if we can elect more conservative members, then we can take it over. It's been a long, long time. So after having served over 20 years, I can tell you it's taken a long time because the establishment has a lot of money, a lot of perks. There is a lot of consultants that get a lot of money, tens of millions of dollars to do mailings, to do social media, to put together conventions. They'll spend tens of millions of dollars on a national convention and way over what they have to spend. They work years. We'll pick a convention site. I was on this last site selection committee, and we've picked the 24 convention and the 28 convention. So we travel around, and a number of people in the RNC already got consulting contracts for the 28 convention. They're going to be making money for 6 years. So, and our chairman, our national chairman, gets to appoint the people to get all these perks. So I got elected from my region as a representative on the site selection committee. But in order to get the perks, you have to get appointed to certain committees, and that's done by the national chairman. So we need more conservative members to get on there and get involved.
Thank you, sir. All right. He's been around long enough. Okay, go ahead, Christina.
I also would like to point out that the consultants are functionally a middleman, because most consultants come with a large group of donors that are behind the consultant in order to dictate what the candidate does and doesn't do. So my encouragement to everybody is first understand how your RNC committee men and women are elected in your state. That's going to be the first thing you have to do, because for me in Michigan, we have, anybody familiar with the precinct strategy? Okay, so in Michigan, after 2020, there was a large effort to elect constitutionalist precinct delegates. And now, because we have a bunch of constitutionalists as precinct delegates, naturally, I got elected, and then our national committee man and woman elections are going to reflect that as well. So the way you can kind of eliminate the power of the consultant class is, again, they're just a middleman for a lot of the uniparty people within the Republican Party. That's it. So if we find out how our states elect that leadership and make sure we recruit that base level who is not beholden to the consultant class, that's how we get better representation in the RNC.
Excellent answer. All right, we're going to go to this side, this microphone. Go ahead and ask a question, sir.
Of course. All right, so it was actually interesting because I was actually at a session earlier this morning about Arabella and the Democracy Alliance Project, where a lot of the dark money of the Democratic Party actually, they went for that extensively. And what I really found was shocking is because of the fact that if you look at the previous elections, and especially that of the RNC and Ronna McDaniel, you'll see that the Republicans on average spend far less money on key battleground states and elections such as those of Michigan, Wisconsin, and the great state of Arizona. So with that being said, my question to you is that what exactly does this coalition hope to work? Funding states like California and New York, which, I mean, the Republicans are being outspent by Democrats 2-1, and they're spending far more money on average to get less voters. So again, my question is, what exactly does this coalition hope to do about it and to change the RNC's policy concerning this matter?
How many of you would give money right now if you received a solicitation from the RNC? Okay. So to answer your question, growing the numbers of people on the RNC to elect reform-minded leadership will solve this problem in two ways, because you will get a strategy of winning elections and being strategic about investments, but hopefully when you see that change occur, you'll say, I am willing to invest. I am willing to give the new leadership an opportunity. And so that's what's got to happen, is we've got to grow these numbers, which is why if you have some of those folks that were standing up just a few minutes ago in your state, you need to make sure you're engaged in your convention process, because the people in that room are going to decide it. I think the question earlier about the consultant class, it really comes down to who are you electing to represent you? Because everybody's nice, right? I mean, people that get elected, it's like when I was in the state legislature. Everybody was nice to hang out with. It's the people that are willing to stand up and be counted on the issues that matter. So you've got to be engaged and elect the right people so that we can get to a majority.
Okay, and then I'd actually like to add something to that, and that is grassroots are powerful. Okay, and that, I mean, this room, whoever it was, I think I saw one person who said they would contribute to the RNC. At our last session, I had somebody complained about it. I go, we get those emails too. I get a daily email from Rana that says, I'm disappointed in you because you haven't contributed to the RNC. It's like, I'm a state chair. You know, I mean, so we all get it. And I'm not saying that I'm exempt, but the point is that grassroots, there are a lot more of us than there are of them. The difference is that the establishment has, that they have been in power and they will do anything to stay in power. So we have to outnumber them. We have to out-organize them. And small dollar donations make a difference. I mean, I can tell you from running for statewide, $200,000 of my campaign stuff was $100 or less donors. So it is absolutely possible, but it's got to be organized, and we have to be visible and vocal. That's what we're talking about, visible and vocal, and give hope to people. Thank you to the gentleman who went out and screamed in the hallway. People saw RNC and went, oh God. That's not what we want. We want you to get it that we are now almost to a third of us that are grassroots conservative people.
I think we're over a third.
Good deal.
I do, because when the election happened in last January, some of these people were not even in office.
I was elected in May,
Most of them
June,
were
February.
Right, right. But
February.
most of these people here with us and here were elected. Am I correct? I would say most of us were. I think Dave is new and Nathan might be new. But,
And Sandy's new.
And Sandy's new, that's right. But at that election, it was 111 for Ronna McDaniel, to 51 for Harmeet Dillon, and 4 for Mike Lindell. If you add the Never Ronnas up, you get 55. 1/3 of and by the way, for those of you who are not familiar with the 168, the 168 number comes from 56 times 3. Why 56? That makes no sense. We have 50 states. We have 6 U.S. territories who are included. Guam, Puerto Rico, Northern Mariana Islands, American Samoa, Washington, D.C., and the U.S. Virgin Islands. So you've got those six U.S. territories. Each one of those entities, 50 states and 6 U.S. territories, gets 3 people. They get a national committee woman, they get a national committee man, and they get a state party chairman. So 3 people from your state represent you on the RNC. That's what the 168 is made up of. And those are the people who make all the decisions, and we are at least a third, but then we added some state party chairmen over the last 11
this
months.
year. I mean,
16 new ones this year. And I would say if of the 16, maybe 14 of them are grassroots America Firsters. So we're in a really, really good place we're moving the ball forward, but then what's going to happen now is in various states, right now in the next 4 or 5 months, they will be electing their national committee man and committee woman. You need to find out in your state how that's done, who does it, and how you can help. That's what you need to do. Okay, go ahead.
That opens up my question, because I'm from California and I've also been approached and received an application from a group of patriots. And I wanted to know what's the difference between being a member and supporting you versus being a delegate or I'm not familiar with any of the RNC. I see Ronna and I'm like, I don't want to give money to her. I don't want to give money to this party. So I'm new to politics. My husband and I just became CRA associates GOP associate delegates, and we're still getting our feet wet. And now I'm getting approached by, here's another application, and I'm overwhelmed. So share with me or try to convince me and my husband why we should be a part of this.
Anyone? All right, I'll jump in and then I'll hand it over to Mike because Mike's getting ready to push me out. Yeah, no, all right, so here's a delegate versus being a member. And I will tell you, when I ran for state chair, I'm going to be completely blunt. I won it. They did not expect me to win it. And my regional person walked up and said, "Welcome to the 168." And I said, "What's the 168?" And it's, because I really just knew I wanted to be the state chair. The important thing is to get involved. All right, so in terms of, and incidentally, that's a very subtle hat. I like it. Being a member, I think, is important. As we're trying to increase our numbers, if people are asking you to become a member or to run for national committee woman or whatever they're asking you to do, whether it's county, whether it's state, I think that's a position of leadership, and that's important. But being a delegate is also important. So, and then you have delegates to state conventions, you have delegates to national conventions. What the delegate does, and for ease, I'm gonna say it's a one and done. You come in, you vote for leadership, you're doing something like that. If you are passionate about President Trump, which, I'm thinking perhaps you are, that would be a clue. Being a delegate either to your state convention or to the national convention is very important and is putting your toe in the water. If you want to run for leadership, you're going to jump in. But I think that just because you don't have experience in it, welcome to our world. Don't let that chase you away, because there are people who will help you and get you up to speed, and it's okay to come in from the grassroots. That's what I would say. Yeah.
So just for a second, I want to just take a moment and explain that there is a massive divide and separation between what is the Republican National Committee and what is your state party. Those are completely different operations. You've still got the 3 people per state that are a part of the state party that are connected to the RNC, but by and large, that is your largest and main connect between the two. I can only speak for Kansas on this, but I think it's true of all. We don't get money from the RNC, and we don't send the money you donate to us to them. There's a firewall. We don't send your money. When you send money to us as a state party, that money goes to work to elect Republicans in Kansas. We don't send any money upstream. So I wanted to make sure that everyone understood there is a big difference between the RNC as a collective group and each of the 56 states and territories under it. They are individual entities that function, and they are fundraising machines in and of themselves. That is, they fund themselves. This is also true that most of the people, the vast majority of the state chairs and the national committeemen and committee women that serve and that are sitting up here, and the others too, are not paid to do that job. You're not paid. Your expenses are not covered. Mine are not. I go to all the events. I pay for my own airfare. I pay for my own hotel, my own meals, everything. We pick up our own bill. So all of the joy that is being the chairman of the Kansas Republican Party is topped with the icing of, and I pay to do it. So, and I will tell you, for whatever it's worth, it's a lot of work. And when I say a lot of work, it's a full-time job. It is a full-time job for me to be the chairman of our state. I'm a general contractor in the real world, and my business is literally doing nothing right now. We are idling because I can't be there. This is overwhelming.
Also, the importance of being an RNC delegate is we will be voting on our party platform. So that is such a critical component. One of the things that people cannot do is, because of the issues in the party, is say, I don't want anything to do with it. No, we need to get in and reform it. That's exactly, when I ran for SOS, I had a member of the former administration. Remember the video when Joe Biden says we have the most extensive and inclusive voter for our organization in the history of American politics? So I'm the Republican nominee for Secretary of State. I shared that video, and I had a member of the former administration call me and say, you shouldn't have done that because the donors will be mad. So this is the type of crap I dealt with when I ran for SOS, so I got mad, and I said, I'm going to run for state party chair. So take that frustration and say, actually, I'm going to run to reform the party. And one of the critical things is becoming an RNC delegate in 24, because we'll be voting on our platform. We will be voting on party rules. So these are critical that we have constitutionalists running for RNC delegates.
And California, call Harmeet Dillon. She is the #1 committee woman, and you're very lucky that you have her in your state.
All right. We're going to go back to this side, I believe, correct? Did somebody just go? Yeah, that side. That side?
Okay, real quick, you kind of hit a nerve when you said they protect their turf, and I go back to Mitch McConnell. We would have had Blakesley in Nevada, and we very easily could have had a senator in Arizona had Mitch McConnell not diverted $9 million to Lisa Murkowski's race in Alaska, who was running against 2 other Republicans. And we lost those races. So I just throw it out. It hits a nerve, and that's when we stop donating to RNC. I'm sorry.
Well, I just think the point that you're making, as Barack Obama famously said, elections have consequences, and the Republican Senate caucus elected Mitch McConnell. So if you want a different outcome, you have to send different people to represent you. And so maybe everybody in here is engaged in the process right now. You need to bring 10 friends with you. You need to make sure you've got the overwhelming numbers to elect national committeemen and national committeewomen who share the vision you're hearing today.
Okay, all right, let's go over to this side. Go ahead and ask your question. We only have about 12 minutes left, so pithy, be pithy. I think that's an old, do you know who, do you guys know who Bill O'Reilly, you're too young to know who Bill O'Reilly, he said, be pithy, it means concise and quick.
My quote for Bill O'Reilly is the no spin zone, but whatever.
That's right.
So this is more about like, let's say like a common ground thing, right? Because now what it is I'm just speaking regularly from what happened with like last midterm. We thought that we were gonna have a red wave, we didn't. And so now the problem is like I'm just speaking from like more like for the centrist side and like more like moderate Republicans in general. The kind of ongoing war right now between like freedom coalitions and what they call the hard right Republican versus the moderates is kind of like make us look splitting and doesn't look like make us look unified. Is there any way we can like find common ground again between the national conservative Republicans and more Reaganites, moderate Republicans, and libertarians?
So I'll take that one. As a matter of fact, I think there has been a movement to try to unify, whether it's the moderates or the RNC and Turning Point. I personally talked to Rana, and I told her that I was coming to AmFest. And I told her I'd like for her to break bread with Turning Point and come here and join me in that. Because I think the only way we win is if we allow coalitions to be built. So if we look at Turning Point as the pure constitutionalist, originalist organization, and we look at the RNC as more moderate / establishment / I don't want to say criminal syndicate that it is, but oops, sorry.
If the hat fits.
But at the end of the day, I think really the only way that we do start winning elections, and 2022 was a lost opportunity for us, and then this year was a lost opportunity for us. And I think it's a systemic problem that is an absolute result of lack of coalition building. And when you don't have that coalition building, what you have is you have a division of resources. The people that are giving to Turning Point do not want to give to the RNC because they've lost faith in the RNC. And you know, the people that are giving to the RNC are not necessarily giving to Turning Point because they do see Turning Point as the more conservative apparatus, the more constitutionalist apparatus that that is not corrupted at this point. I think the RNC is extremely corrupted at this point. The only way to modify that is to build a coalition. So,
I would add to that, you know, I try to look at it beyond like two splits, because you have multiple splits. There's people who I know who are not as constitutionalist as and not a constitutionalist. They're more conservative, ambiguous sense, but I can work with them any day of the week because they're good people. I think the problem is you have a hard time uniting dark and light, because in my state, it is the consultant class who is now doing everything they can to essentially destroy my reputation. I can't unite with those people, because uniting them will require me to do things that I pledged not to do when I was elected as chair. So there is the bifurcation, because many of these people, instead of fighting Democrats, they're intentionally sowing chaos and destruction within my state to the point I can't function. And to make them stop, I need to leave. So I think we need to understand that there are some people we will never come together with. It's just never going to happen, because, again, coming together means our elimination and them being in charge. And so people who act that way, we need to purge them out of our party. Now, the people I know who are more moderate and establishment type, who are friendly and I can work with, I will work with them any day of the week. But those who are looking to, and in my opinion, I believe that these people, for one, I know they're globalists, but what they do is they have infiltrated our party to destroy it and sow chaos so we can't function. Because this has been going on for years. Why is it that we have Republicans who always reason their way into an action? They find character in refuting Republicans who are more conservative. So those people we can't coexist with, because their job is to destroy the Republican Party from the inside so we can't function. So we can't unite with them. But the people, to your point, the people who are genuine but just are philosophically different, I do believe we can find a way to work with them. But it starts with putting out an olive branch, humbling ourselves, and trying to work with them. But I think that's going to be extremely difficult.
Beautifully said.
Okay, well, just real quick, I know we've got people. Unity versus unanimity. And the difference is, so unanimity is lockstep, everybody's thinking the same. We as Republicans are very independent thinkers. So as a state chair, I am passionate, constitutional, very passionate, but I am standing up as a state chair saying, we're not going to agree on everything, let's find the things that do. So build each building block. There are certain things we absolutely agree on, and that's, we're finding that. Believe me, we are finding that.
100%. And that is the difference between Republicans and Democrats. They all walk in lockstep. They all walk like robots. We are critical thinkers. And so we can think on our own. And we don't always agree because we're thinking of other things. So it's just part of the deal. Go ahead, sir. Ask your question.
Yeah, and I also say the unity street goes both ways. So the moderate side can also unite and come to our side of the table as well. It's not always us having to give and compromise.
I concur. Beautifully
said. My question is, with 2024 fastly approaching and the coffers of the RNC fastly dwindling, the money, Republicans naturally see a really huge hurdle to even see a President Trump reelected or a Republican elected at all. At the national level, in Senate level, in the House level, how do we solve this if we don't number one issue in politics typically is to try to win, you got to have money. We don't have money, and people have no faith in the RNC, which is why a lot of the grassroots is calling for the resignation of Rana, because they don't want to give. So how do we solve that problem going into 24? Or we're just going to lose?
All right, I will say, first of all, I think what's going on right now is we're seeing the Bud Lighting of Ronna McDaniel.
So the short answer is, we cannot lose in 2024. And in Georgia, I don't think that we will have a Republican president if we don't carry Georgia. So we are being much more aggressive than we've been in the past in raising money on our own, because we know it's basically us. We're having more events. We're doing more activities to make sure we've got the money to fight the 2024 campaign, but it's also important to have strategic partnerships and reach out to partners like Turning Point. In Georgia, we have other organizations like Greater Georgia. It takes realizing that the state party can't do everything, and that you've got to be willing to work legally in cooperation where possible.
We have to
with-
do this legally?
with other groups. Well, because we're the Republicans, right? But the short answer is we've got to raise the resources because we just can't wait for whatever's going to happen at the national level. We've got to be there and take care of business because either we do this or we lose the country.
Well,
Can
and
I
I
ask
think
a follow-up question too on this though?
Yeah.
So I'd been the national finance director for Trump Victory in 2020, which was the joint fundraising committee between the Trump campaign, the RNC, and the state parties. So when we solicit a major donor, it would be doled out on that waterfall. Right now, I'm very worried that Ron is not committing to making that JFA until the nominee is official, which is the convention in July, which means you then have to raise and spend money in August, September, October for the general election. It's near impossible. Could you say, this primary is over, which we all know, screw you, Ronna, and create Georgia Victory with the Trump campaign, and Nevada Victory, and Michigan Victory, and cut out the RNC and the middleman, and just form your JFA now, and go to the top 50 donors in your state and say max out?
yes.
I was thinking about this. I'm like, wait, why didn't I think of this before?
But real quick on the, back to this question about, Democrats outraise Republicans, and I know that I'm sound like a broken record about the grassroots, but your vote is your voice. We have to drive that message home, and you do that at the neighborhood level. So if you don't know what precinct strategy is, figure it out and find out. It's an easy read. But that precinct strategy, election district, neighborhood level is absolutely critical to the 24 election. Getting people engaged and understanding they have to show up and vote, you can do that with fewer dollars. That's what we have to be doing.
Really quick, I think one of the things we have to change the culture within the Republican Party, the concept that grassroots shouldn't donate. Democrats don't operate like that. Their grassroots do contribute. And we have to remember that we somehow have this connotation that grassroots means they don't have funds. In Michigan, the people who support us, they're grassroots, and they do have lots of funds. One of the challenges is the party has lost credibility. And so what we're doing in Michigan, we have our own closed platform, and it's a program called the Good Neighbor Program, where we're establishing new relationships. And as we establish new relationships and getting people involved, we're simultaneously soliciting them for dollars. And as they see us having a credible organization that has a tactical approach to winning elections, then they will give money. So our big solution is to bring in new donors through a credible party showing action. Then we can solve that problem.
We have probably about 2 minutes left here at this point. We have 2 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to give you one last question here. We'll have to, and I'm sorry about that, but we're just not going to have time. Sorry, Deanne, and I know her too. Okay, so we're gonna leave one last question, and we'll finish it up.
So I got almost distracted by the last two questions, but so I was considered a right-wing radical before Trump. I thought Trump was too liberal to be president. I was a never Trumper. I was a Ted Cruz guy. I voted for him because I'm a Republican. I voted for him the second time. And I come to this, and it's this anti-Trump or this anti-Nikki Haley sentiment, anti-DeSantis sentiment. And it's a little annoying because Nikki Haley was DeSantis. She was the queen of the Republican Party when she was South Carolina governor. And I feel like the RNC is missing the boat a little bit on getting money. Because I would prefer DeSantis, like I didn't prefer Trump last time. Just to the Trump people, he did the COVID stuff first. He killed my healthcare business. He did the big government things, and I think people miss it, and no one's ever admitted it. And that's fine. I'm going to vote for him, and maybe we should after Iowa, if DeSantis gets killed or Haley gets killed. What do we do? How do we bring the party? The Democrats are together. I come to Turning Point. The Republicans are not together. They're not at all. And it's either Trump or Haley's a neocon. I go to the Turning Point booth, and Haley's a neocon. The Koch brothers gave her money. The Koch brothers have gave money for years. We want their money, right? I do.
Yeah, so I think the central issue is we have to elect a Republican president in November. We have to do that. And every day that goes by that millions of dollars are being spent with Republicans attacking Republicans, when we're being outraised by an exponential amount by the Democrats, makes it harder and harder for us to win. So I hear from our grassroots in Georgia every day, they are very frustrated at the idea that a primary that every day appears to be over, that this
But it appeared to be over before Trump won.
This circular firing squad continues, right? And so I think that's what you're talking about, is there's a lot of frustration that limited financial resources are being expended, extending out this process for however long it's going to go. And then if you're in a state like mine where Democrats have paid field staff on the ground already organizing, and we're fighting from behind already here in December of 2023, there's a lot of frustration and concern that when the dust settles from all of this, it's going to be very difficult for us to win. So I think the focus needs to be on the fact that all of us in this room disagree on a whole lot of things, but we want to have a country after 2024. And I don't know how many new Supreme Court justices a Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or whoever's actually in charge of the administration will put on the court. But we're not going to have a country if we don't win in 2024. And that's really where our focus needs to be.
In Kansas, last point. In Kansas, Trump is winning in polling at 56% in a six-way race. He has been polling between 50 and 55%. He took a 6-point jump last week. The question becomes is, when does the moderate side of the party step over to this side? When do they come to this side? When does that side of the party admit that we have a nominee and that we are wasting our time and it is time to move on? It is time to unify behind a candidate and win the White House and stop fighting. Totally agree with that.
But we said that about Jeb Bush too, when Trump was way behind 7 years ago.
I never said that. But I will say this. It is clear to me, raise your hand, clap if you agree, Trump's going to win this race. That's a given, folks. It's coming whether you like it or not. Please like it. Get on board and let's go. Let's get this done.
Let's give this great panel a round of applause. Thank you very much. Thank you all for supporting us and supporting the RNC, the resistance. Thank you.